Hello there, it's John.
And I'm Richard.
This is Bronze and Modern Gods, your favorite podcast about comic books. We know it's your favorite. You're just assuming, right?
You're here.
Yeah, really. Okay, it's got to be at least one of your favorites, or you're that one guy that watches us every week and gives us a thumbs down. I don't care. Any kind of interaction is great for the algorithm. Hey, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. Give us a like, hit subscribe, leave us a review, all that stuff. Richard, it's been quiet this week. We didn't have any shows to attend.
No, I know. It's been real quiet on this side.
I know. It's kind of a relief. I caught up on some sleep and I organized a whole bunch of books. I actually did bagging and boarding and boxing.
Well, you're ahead of the game from where I stand. I didn't do any of that stuff. I did, though, started pulling books. Here's an evil secret. I'm thinking I'm going to start selling some books on eBay again.
Well, we should have a live sale together first before you go that route.
That's not a bad idea. I think I'd love that.
Make sure you're following us on Instagram and hit that notifications so you know when we do go live. Waste not, want not. We've got lots of stuff this week. We've got underrated books of the week. We've got the return of the old fart rule, little show and tell, and our hot book of the week. Richard, have you seen this book?
Yes, I have. Wolverine number 37. It's a one per store thank you variant by Greg Capullo. This is a surprise gift to the retail comic shops from Marvel. Supposedly, it was a one per store, but in reality, it's more like a one per distribution center source that you may have. So some shops, because they order from multiple distributors, have gotten multiple copies.
Yeah, if you order direct from Penguin and Marvel, you got one, and if you kept your Diamond account as well, you got another one. This is supposedly celebrating the return of Greg Capullo to Marvel, with much more work from him to come. They announced a whole bunch of covers and things he's going to be doing. Of course, we know Greg from his last few years, I would say decades, on Spawn with Todd McFarlane. But more importantly, he got his start on Quasar, one of the best books ever published by any publisher ever in the universe. I'm not wrong. Forget anybody that disagrees with me.
An unbiased opinion from John.
Yeah, exactly. This book in particular is weird. It came polybagged. What a throwback.
Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder if, like every other polybag book, I'm assuming the back cover has a crease down the back from where the seam on the polybag is.
Indeed. So there's that. I can't imagine people keeping it sealed, although a bunch of the eBay sales have it sealed, and they're averaging around $75 on eBay now. Earlier this week, it was a little nuttier, around $120, $125. It seems to be settling down to $75. Richard, it seems like every week we say we're over these variant covers and we're over these virgin cover things. And here we are yet again.
Yeah, this is again it's manufactured scarcity. The publisher, Marvel, knows that only a small number of these books are going out. Although it's very similar to ratio books, it's tough to call. The cover itself, to me, I'm not a huge fan of it. It's Wolverine leaping on the cover with his claws out. It's just not something that I consider to be a great cover, which makes elevate some books to collectible status. Its collectible status, in my opinion, is because it's a once per store. I just don't see this thing flying really high. I see it holding value because of that rarity, but it's just not going to hit Legion of Superheroes 23 level of fame.
Yeah, it's weird to me because Greg Capullo has completely submersed himself in this Todd McFarlane style, where he was aping Todd, and here it is. It's aping Todd. I see a little Mark Silvestri in there as well. But it makes me sad because Greg Capullo had his own style when he was drawing Quasar. Hate to bring it up again. No, I don't. I love bringing it up every time. When he was drawing X-Force, he had his own style. He had this kind of open style that was really appealing, and I wish, I don't begrudge him for growing, but is growth slavishly imitating a popular artist?
We'll see. I mean, he's not in that environment anymore. If he's working for Marvel now, maybe being free of the Todd father in terms of creative direction is going to allow him to, experiment more, maybe reach a style that's unique to him more so than just aping Todd.
That would be nice. We shall see. Okay, time for my favorite part of the show now. I like this part. Show and tell. Before we start show and tell, someone I can't remember in the comments said something about how much money I must have spent in Baltimore. And I thought for a second, yeah, that was kind of crazy. But then I remembered I sold a lot of books too, you guys. So it is, that trope of having the hobby fund itself.
Mhm.
So you might want to do that if you're not a big Greg Capullo fan. You got that one per store thank you variant. Sell it on eBay and buy a book that you really want. Like, I don't know, Outlaw Kid number 10.
Yeah.
This is this was a strange little book. This was, I get away from the mic. I am just a mess today. Outlaw Kid was a Western book that ran in the 50s from Atlas. And then Marvel brought it back as a reprint title. It was a reprint title for 9 issues. And apparently it sold well enough as a reprint title that with issue 10, they decided to start doing new stories. So they gave him a secret identity. He wears a mask now, and it's in the style of a Western Spider-Man.
Wow. Does it actually say that on the cover?
Right.
It sure does. Wow.
What a way to sell this book.
An elevator pitch there.
Yeah, the all new Origin of the Outlaw Kid. Outlaw Kid ran new stories from issue 10 to issue 15 or 16, I think 15. So just a year, bi-monthly issues. And then it ran as a reprint title for another 3 years. And so it just must have been something about the title that sold on newsstands. Didn't matter if it was a reprint, didn't matter if it was new stories. So just a strange one. I like this in particular. I bought this from, I can tell because I saved the sticker. I bought this from Terry's Comics.
Oh, okay.
Years ago. He has it at an 8.5. I paid 30 for it back then. There is the highest is a CGC 9.4 on the census. I think I pressed this into at least a 9.4. This is something I might have to send in, I think.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't sent it in already.
I know it's been in one of those boxes. Like I said, I was organizing this week, so I'm finding new gems. So there you go. What do you have?
This book, I don't remember if I showed this last time for a number of reasons, but this is Pop Kills number 4 cover from from Adam Hughes. If you look, I'm hitting the microphone. If you look at the bottom, you see it's signed by him for Richard. Uh, she's showing her assets, so I've got that part of the cover.
You
Covers.
should have used blue painter's tape, like we always recommend.
I know. But I really enjoy this cover. Adam Hughes is a great artist, and so many of his covers end up being highly collectible. And I think this one is as well. This is actually the original Pop Kills number 4, with where her assets are covered in the comic. The cover itself was a Kickstarter book, and this is a follow up. This is another print, second print, what have you, of the book with those assets displayed. I liked it. It was there at his booth when we were there at San Diego Comic-Con. So I had him sign it for me, and I'm thinking about getting it slabbed. I'll probably send it off to CBCS so that I can avoid the green label. But yeah, that's me.
Great. Adam Hughes, great artist, witty, sparkling personality, conversationalist.
Yeah, he had his sunglasses on and really wasn't very much into interaction. I don't know if that was just it was early, beginning of the show. I don't know if that was it, but yeah.
He's an artist. He's not a celebrity. He doesn't have to entertain us.
I guess not. But we had fun with Art Adams was a different personality. So
Yeah, people are different. People have different personalities. Maybe it was a late night and he's like, who are these two middle-aged nerds bugging me? Speaking of middle-aged nerds, hey, it's Peanuts number 4.
that looks really sharp.
It is, except for See the bottom there?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's
I see
got some schmutz on the Schultz.
it.
I don't know what that is. It looks like it's almost like whiteout or something. I've never tried to clean it, but this is actually Peanuts #4. It is the first real air quotes issue of Peanuts as a title, because the first 3 Peanuts books were part of the 4-color comic series. So when they spun it off into its own series, they just started with issue #4. This is one of the covers that's actually drawn specifically for the comic by Charles Schulz. You can tell that it will have his signature on it. The other ones do not have his signature on it. And for all of you spec people, this is the first appearance of Sally Brown.
Oh, well, there you go.
So make sure you go buy every copy of Peanuts #4 right now before that Sally Brown in the Multiverse of Madness movie is announced. All right, what do you have?
I am a huge Dave Stevens fan, as people who follow the show may know. And I always pick up these books. This is a really sharp copy of Vanguard. I think it's Vanguard number 2. Yeah, Vanguard #2. Um, really nice Dave Stevens cover. For those who are listening on the podcast, it's a picture of multiple women trading fire with some unseen enemy as they try to board their spaceship. Um, and it's Dave Stevens has a very unique style, and whenever I see these books, this one's dated 1983 in terms of the art, so he passed away, um, and left us with a legacy. So when I find these books, like this one is marked near mint, and it says $25. I paid less than that. This is really sharp. I think it's a 994.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm thinking about sending it in just because I don't have any graded Dave Stevens books. I have lots of Dave Stevens books, but none of them are graded. So, and I've noticed a surge recently in the prices related to Dave's books. So I don't know if other people are discovering him, or if there is some. I know there's no real traction for the Rocketeer, but for some reason we do see some increase in prices.
There is a very good reason for the increases, and we will cover that in our viewer mail. There's a teaser for you to stay tuned, you Dave Stevens fans. My next book is a dollar bin special, and it's one of those things that, the shop probably had it forever and nobody wants this book, so they threw it in the dollar bin. It is Dark Shadows #1 from Innovation. This is the series based on the 90s NBC TV series reboot of Dark Shadows. And what's interesting about this, it is a gold foil version of #1. The regular version of #1 does not have that gold foil. It is a certificate of authenticity on the back, which looks like it was just run off at the office on someone's Xerox machine. Hereby certify that the item of Dark Shadows memorabilia which accompanies this document is limited to an edition of 4,000 and is signed by the illustrators Hector Gomez and Jose Pimentel. So there you go. It's signed by George Broderick Jr., editor-in-chief of Innovative Comics, who is the publisher.
Mm-hmm.
There are the signatures of the artist. It is number 525 of 4,000, and it was in a dollar bin. So,
and you bought, if I recall correctly, you bought a stack of those, right?
I bought a stack of that revival at Baltimore, but that was a different purchase. I found this in a dollar bin here locally at an LCS. So what are you gonna do? So now I have the whole run. I think I paid $20 for that whole run we got in Baltimore, and now I have the gold foil limited edition version. What do you
got? Next, going along the lines again of the Good Girl Art stuff. This is something I found at Baltimore, and I don't remember ever seeing. No, I'm sorry, I did not get this at Baltimore. I got this at a local show. It's One Fisted Tales. It is a cherry Pop-Tart issue. This is from I think 91 is when this came out, but it looks like a newsprint cover. It's a brown cover.
It's a plain brown wrapper.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I know that because we used to carry that when I was managing a shop in the 90s. And if you look really closely at the rocket ship that's going up by the logo.
Yes, the rocket ship has some very specific
It's vibrating.
design. Yes, yes, it's
It's a
quite.
massager.
I love cherry pop tart from its the concept of cherry pop tart has always been really cool in my opinion. Um, the um, the comics with an X aspect of it. So this book I thought was really cool. Again, I've never seen this book, and I thought I was pretty well versed with cherry pop tarts history. So when I saw this one, I had to pick it up.
With one hand. Steve Martin, when he's his stand up, his old stand up, when he talks about Farrah Fawcett, is so conceited. She has not called me once. And after the hours I spent holding up her poster with one hand. Um, Police Trap. Number two.
A transition.
Yes. Number two. This is one of the mainline issues by Simon and Kirby, their own company, pre-code. As you can see, the code drove them out of business. But this is issue 2 with an exciting cover about the muster room in the police headquarters where the cops that are off duty hang out, horseplay, get their shoes shined. What action-packed comics? How can mainline fail? Covers like this. It is the most static Jack Kirby cover I've ever seen.
Wow.
I mean, I guess we're going for like total realism here, but yeah, again, going through boxes and I am finding all my police traps and putting them together. There you go. What do you have?
Next, I also love Cerebus. One of my favorite characters in Cerebus is Wolveroach. So I saw this because if you're talking about Wolverine, the Wolverine comic for our comic of the week, this to me is even more cool. For those who don't know, Wolveroach is a character. It's actually a mentally disturbed gentleman, let's call him that, in the series who takes on the aspect of different superhero supervillains through the course of his run. In this instance, he is Wolveroach. He's a version of Wolverine, and it's the cover is him and a nice action shot with arrows flying by. This is a great shot. Cerebus comics just do not have a whole lot of value. I was offered a whole box of them for 50 cents a piece.
Mm.
It's just not there. This one has marked as $10. I think I paid less than that for it because I bought it in a stack. But to me, this is a really cool. This is not his first appearance. His first appearance, I believe, was in the issue before this. But it's just a great cover, and it shows off the artistry that Dave Steven has, or sorry, not Dave Steven, Dave Sim has. So it's yeah, so it's a part of my collection because I remember when this was on the newsstand and I bought it, and it was just such a great story back then.
You had the Moon Roach. You
Yes.
had the Dark Roach, which was Batman, the parody of the Dark Knight. Wolveroach. Am I missing any?
There's another one I cannot think of.
The Silver Roach or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. If you follow us on Instagram, which you should be, and Facebook, you would have seen this book earlier this week. This is Miss America Magazine, number 5. Beneath this wholesome cover of a bygone era that never really existed, honestly, lies a 14-page Miss America Golden Age comic story and the third appearance of Patsy Walker in a comic book story as well. Got this from Pulp Fiction, my local comic shop. Ryan, the owner, shout out, a great price. Really just a beautiful blazing white book, white pages. And it's mostly a magazine for teenage girls. So you've got a lot of articles about, how to be popular and, how to dress and why aren't I popular and why can't I dress? But interspersed with those articles are 2 comic book stories. The last appearance of Miss America, the superhero, until the I believe the oh no, she was in the All Winners Squad too. So the last truly solo Miss America story, and it's right here, and can't believe I found it. There it is.
Now, if you get that slabbed, is it going to be slabbed as a magazine or as a comic?
No, it's a Golden Age size, so it's a comic book size. It's Golden Age. It has a little tight fit in the Golden Age Mylar. but it fits. And yeah, I think cleaned and pressed, it's going to be a 6.5, maybe a 7. The only issue I see, I don't think this is foxing, but there's something happening up here. I don't know if you
Mm,
can see that brown schmutz there,
yeah, yeah. Just
but
just trim it off.
exactly. Speaking of trim, this looks like it's got a really nasty spine roll, but it's actually bad printing. See how the
Oh yeah. Mhm.
cover ends there? Look, you can see yourself, Richard. Derail this podcast. Okay. How are you going to wrap it up? What do you have?
Oh, this nothing really special. This is back in the day when the turtles uh, were new. They did these. The exact title is Martial Arts Authorized Training Module. They did manual. They did one for each of the turtles. This is Michelangelo sitting here on the cover. Tough cover. It's a all black cover. The reason I bought this is because it is mint. It is really, 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 really sharp.
Those are hard to find in great shape because of the black cover and nobody cared. I got another dollar bin fodder for years.
Right, right. So I am going to give it a quick press because that's all it needs. And I'm going to in my next batch that I'm going to submit, which may be a while, given CGC's pricing recently. I'm going to send this in because I would love to get all of them, and it's just a throwback to that era.
Let's give everybody an update on our submissions. We submitted, both of us dropped books off at Baltimore Comic Con on September 10th.
Mhm.
I had modern, vintage, and what's the other one now? High value. That's what it's called. Modern, vintage, and high value books. They were received on September 15th, which is crazy, and they were all scheduled for grading by Friday, the 22nd. So they're all, or no, they were all in grading and encapsulation by yesterday, Friday, September 22nd, when we were recording this. So I should be getting books back in a week or so.
I submitted 4 books. I cut down the number I was planning on submitting because of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
It really, between those 4 books, it was over $200 for grading fees, which I thought was just it was a lot. So the three books I did send, and 3 of them were vintage, and they also received on the 15th, and they are now in grading, encapsulation, imaging. One additional book that I submitted, which was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, second print. That one is a magazine high value,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still sitting and scheduled for grading. So I don't know when that's going to move. Again, we've noticed that magazines take longer than regular comics. So
Yeah, there's an update for the people that were asking us in a segment we call Viewer Mail.
You've got mail.
So let's head to it. Here it is. My first piece of viewer mail is from our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Mike Will, who writes, Hey, Mike. Enjoy your comments. So I would like to get your opinion on facsimile comics. What should their place be in the comic market? Are they reprints or special editions or vanity books or what? How should they be considered in a collection? An eBay seller sells exact copies of comics with no notice that they are such. While some of their books are clear copies with pages similar to IDW's artist editions, others are undetectable copies that can only be revealed by their paper quality. No one else has World Colors newsprint. What do you think of such books? Well, we're talking about not official facsimiles. Sounds like we're talking about Mother Blanking bootlegs, which
yeah,
is what they are. They're bootlegs. They're crap. They're trash. They are kindling. Use them to start a fire as the fall season is upon us. There's a nip in the air. No, they're crap. I mean, why would you want one?
well, Cerebus #1 has counterfeit copies that are considered of value. But
Way
yeah,
to, way to go for the one single outlier.
yeah, I agree. We're really talking 2 different things. We've got the official facsimiles, which I've got up on the wall. Fantastic Four um, #1 is the Golden Record reprint, for example. That is an official reprint put out in 1966, and it has a significant value, partially because of its age, but also it looks just like the original, and it has the same patina. So it kind of, in my collection, it sits there in place of the original number one, because I just not want to be able to spend the money for a 9/6 number one as that's up there on the wall. Um, and then there's more recent, all of the Ultimate Fallout 4 facsimiles and the Hulk number one facsimiles. Those are all great. Those give you an opportunity to hold the comic in your hand and be able to read it. As far as value goes, they're most of them have no significant value because they're printed in volume and there's really no scarcity to them. So to me, they're there because people didn't have the opportunity to read the original, and this gives them that opportunity. Now, the other kind of facsimiles is what I think what you're talking about, where people go out and they use the high tech scanners and printers that are available to them to print a copy of a book um, that already exists. It is not an original book; it's simply a book that looks like that original. And I think people use that to defraud other people into thinking that they're buying the original book.
Yep.
And that's, as John mentioned, that's kindling. That's first of all, it's a practice that lessens the hobby in general, and it's you are potentially criminally liable for it as well. So I
Nope.
definitely would not go through the process of selling anything like that. If you buy something like that, then I think the best you can do is try
Reach.
for reach out to your original seller and inform them. If that doesn't help, if you bought it on eBay, you've got eBay protection, and if all else falls short, alert the community of that seller so that the people are aware of what his or her practices are, and hopefully have someone else avoid the same kind of pitfall.
All right. What do you have?
My first piece of your mail is from our email, bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com, and it's from Darren of the Fantast Collection. And I really appreciate him reaching out. This is a response to a piece of viewer mail from our last week's show when we asked about the name of the collection, the Fantast Collection. And he says, watch your latest YouTube video. Um, thanks for your coverage and your kind words. It's amazing how well you understand our story and support it. It is an amazing story. It means a lot, and I watch your YouTube content regularly. Well, thank you. You did have a question about Fantast as the collection name. I wanted to answer that. Fantast was a handle my father would use on website and blogs where he wished to keep his identity private. My father was very interested in the occult, UFOs, and the human psychology surrounding them both. I cover this in a video that details our custom CGC label on sellingsuperman.com. It's on the homepage if you scroll down a bit. When I learned the dictionary definition of fantast was one, dreamer, believer, impractical person, and two, individual with extraordinary foresight, I knew those definitions were very accurately described my father and how he collected. It therefore made sense to name the collection Fantast as an homage to my father's irrational and his foresight.
Wow.
That is awesome. Okay, that makes 100% sense. And I think it's a great way of honoring your father by recognizing his the two sides of his personality. So kudos. Thank you very much for reaching out to us and letting us know. And it's if you think of anything else that you'd like to bring to us, we'd love to have you on the show again and talk about your collection.
Uh, Everyone, where are you at with your estate planning this week? Okay. Just plan your estate. You never know.
Yeah.
Be just walking down the street and you get hit by a seagull. What? My next piece of viewer mail comes from our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Todd T, who writes, Hi, John and Richard. I've been watching your show for the past 2 years or so. My apologies. And I have enjoyed it very much. I was wondering if you guys have seen the Dave Stevens documentary called Dave Stevens Drawn to Perfection. If I've seen it already, and I've talked about it. If you have seen it already and talked about it on your show, I apologize. It is currently on Amazon Prime. It's really well done. It talks about his time working on Hollywood movies, including working as a storyboard artist on Raiders of the Lost Ark. It also goes into his relationship with Betty Page. There are several interviews from family and friends, including Jaime Hernandez, Bernie Wrightson, Michael Kaluta, Adam Hughes, Bill Stout, and others. I think you guys would like it a lot. Love the show. Thanks, Todd. Gee, Todd, why do you think we would like that? No, I have not watched it, and I'm the worst. You guys have given me so much homework the last month or so. But this Dave Stevens thing, it sounds very interesting to me. I like the talking heads they got in there, so I have to see all those guys talk about Dave Stevens, and hopefully he gets. You've seen it, Todd. I have not. Yeah, hopefully he gets into the Pacific Comics stuff, the Steve Shane stuff, and what happened there. Richard, have you seen it?
I have not. I've known about it, but like you, I'm so far behind. I'm three episodes behind in Ahsoka, which I really, really want to watch. I've not had the time.
Todd, short answer, no, but it's on the list. Thank you for letting us know. It's after my estate planning. What do you?
My next comment is from a YouTube commenter, Spider Comics 1180. Hey, Rich, when discussing the inability to produce a 9.8 situation, we talked about difficulties in getting 9.8s. You mentioned to the naked eye. I use a set of magnifying glasses with a built-in LED globe when cleaning and inspecting my books. It increases the harshness of my grading that may assist your follower. I can clean a book with my naked eye and then put on the glasses, and I will be able to find and sometimes correct further issues. Yeah, that's true. I think it's the whole concept of if you look at it with your eye over time will learn to bypass certain flaws. Your eye will just pass them by. But when you look at them through some third party like a magnifying glass or the camera on a cell phone, your eye will then be able to pick up those flaws that it was not noticing otherwise. So it's always a good idea to, before you submit a book, take a look at it through the magnifying glass is a great thing to do, or some third party kind of you know camera or lens to kind of separate yourself from the direct viewing of the book. And if you see any flaws, correct them or adjust your own personal grade to them, because sometimes it's flaws like fingerprints on the cover, which I've caught using this method, are difficult to remove, and you just have to accept them. So, yeah,
And
that definitely.
I think, guys, you just got to be honest with yourselves when you're grading a book. You got to, you know, I know it's your copy of Miss America #5, and you want it to be an 8. It cannot will it into existence. Well, sort of with pressing and cleaning, it kind of can, but
You can, but like I said, things like fingerprints and there are some flaws that are difficult to see when you're first looking at a book. But when you look at it at an angle and you get it right, you'll be able to see those kinds of flaws because that's what the person who's grading the book is going to be doing. So you need to mimic that whole examination.
if not adding finger bends and fingerprints themselves. Hey, my next piece of viewer mail is from our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Brian Barrist. Hey guys, I wish I could have made it to Baltimore. I'd never been before, but alas, work and other commitments have prevented me from going. I hope to meet you both there someday. Question: with pre-code horror being the hottest genre in the hobby, do you think that Silver Age DC horror could start to see some love in the future? Between Neil Adams, Bernie Wrightson, Nick Cardy, and Michael Kaluta, among others, these books have great covers and interior art. They also have original stories as opposed to the Marvel horror stuff that reprints pre-code stories. I will admit that I am biased because I collected this stuff in the 90s and held on to it all these years. I recently went through and pulled books out of their original bags, and many of them were beautiful high-grade books with awesome covers. Appreciate your thoughts as always. No race-related topic today, but always up for that discussion. Cheers, Brian. Brian, cheers to you. I've always been a huge advocate of DC, mostly Bronze Age horror, not so much Silver Age. I think the Silver Age is limited, like you said, to those really classic Neil Adams covers, of the woman in white running from the Gothic Tower. Whereas the Bronze Age stuff, you've got the Wrightson covers and those Kaluta covers and just beautiful things. And the inside art, it's all air quote unknown Filipino artists inside, being done in a bullpen, like almost a factory kind of thing. But it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's so nice. And then you open it up and you get sometimes a little surprise, like Frank Robbins. What happened? Um, but I agree. I don't think, Brian, they're underrated. I think they're very popular. I think if it's a high grade bronze or silver age horror DC book, you're gonna get what you want for it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, I also really appreciate the Bronze Age books. Again, it's a bias we have, John, because that's more of our era than the Silver Age books were.
We're the ones with the money.
Yeah, yeah. So I definitely, I think a rising tide raises all boats, and I think that as the pre-code horror becomes more and more popular, people are going to migrate to the things that are more affordable, and that means Silver Age, Bronze Age books. So definitely, I'm proud of you for holding on to those books, and if you're looking to sell, I mean, you'll probably benefit from holding on to them because I think they're going to increase in value.
When I say we're the ones with the money, I'm talking about not Richard and I, we, the collective we, everyone listening to this podcast that's in this age group, that we're the ones that have somewhat disposable income and we grew up in this time, and that's why these books are hot.
Mhm.
What do you have?
My last comment is from another YouTube comment, Revolt Puppy,
Hmm.
and and this is talking about booth prices. What do you make of the booths at cons where they promise everything is 50% off? Clearly, they double their fair market value so that they can sell it at that price once the discount is applied. Do you think this makes customers less likely to haggle with them since they're already giving you a deal? I kind of get nefarious vibes for them because I feel they're being manipulative, and it makes me wonder what they're getting away with that I don't see. This is an interesting question. I have a value when I look at a book, regardless of what it's listed at, what I'm willing to pay for it. So if the book is 50% off and the value is exactly dead on what I think it's worth, then yeah, I'm going to consider the rest of the books in there, probably double price. But I'm not going to pay, I wouldn't have paid that price for it in the first place, the full price of the book. I would have paid, whatever I considered to be a good price. And I think this was in regards to I bought a book that we talked about last show, and cover says, the sticker says 40, and I paid 20 for it.
Right.
I thought, for $20 it was a good value. $40 it wasn't. So, I buy the book, not necessarily the price. So take a look at the book, take a look at the condition. Is what the ultimate price they're offering at, is that you consider a fair price, then buy it. If you don't consider it a fair price, ask for, throw out whatever the price you do think is fair. If it's in one of these bins, 50% off, dollar bin, two for $5, the seller is automatically incentivized to get rid of it. They haul these long boxes full of books around to every single show. And if it means one of their 50% off books goes away and they don't have to haul it, they, I think, will be amenable to some kind of discount. So don't never be afraid to ask for money off of a book, because the worst they can tell you is no.
Revolt Puppy. Marketing, pure and simple. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
It catches your eye. You see 50% off. You think immediately, your lizard brain goes, someone's liquidating their collection for half off. I must go over and go through those bins. It worked. It got you over there. You may feel skeevy once you start going through and you see the pricing. But like Richard said, everything's negotiable. Everything in life is negotiable, you guys, not just comic books. Everything in life is negotiable. Let me pontificate. No, all right, stop.
uh, yeah, pay what you think is fair, regardless of what the marketing around the sale is, and you'll be happy with it.
Your boss told you you're not getting a raise this year? Okay, that's fine. What am I getting instead? Am I getting increased vacation time? Am I getting increased benefits? Everything is negotiable, even a severance agreement, Richard. If you get let go, you know that's negotiable, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yes, I am.
Yeah. So, God, I sound like an old fart. Hey, it's the old fart rule. Segways are us today. Old fart rule. So appropriate because we were just talking about two of these things, the artist and the genre. House of Mystery, issue 321 from 1983. This is the last issue of this long running horror anthology that began in 1951. Excellent Michael Kaluta cover, which is fitting after all his horror covers throughout the Bronze Age for the multiple DC horror titles. This cancellation marked a real shift in comics to almost all superheroes all the time. I think when this was canceled, DC still had a few things that were non superhero related. Jonah Hex continued for a few more years. GI Combat and Sergeant Rock, I think, went to 87, 88 each. But this was sad. I say it's sad. I never bought it. So there's a reason why it was canceled. Probably strong newsstand sales at one point, but in the direct market, this book was not going to cut it. A CGC 9.8, though, happened to sell this month for $319, while a 9.6 last sold in 2022 for $27. There's that drop off between grades you were talking about last week, Richard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an end to an era. Absolutely. Did I buy this issue? Absolutely not. It
No,
was not on the radar. I was, when I was at this age, I was heavily into the superheroes, and I was also buying indie books, but not horror books.
I will say I did. I'm taking that back. I just remembered I bought this book about the last year and a half, 2 years of its existence because it had I Vampire, which was a serialized story that was like kind of had superhero Tomb of Dracula tropes in it. But they wrapped up. I guess I Vampire wasn't enough to keep this book going. They wrapped it up 2 issues prior to this canceled issue, and yeah, so I take that back. I was buying it. Weird. How could they cancel this book I love so much, Richard? I am retroactively infuriated. Let's move on to our underrated books of the week. Here is a first, Richard. You're the first one to do this on this show. You're a brave man. Go for it. Because I don't know how our audience is going to react. Go.
Oh, okay. So my pick this week is Skeleton Warrior Couldn't Protect the Dungeon. Okay, this is a web comic. This is something that John mentioned we have never talked about, and there is a whole subculture that revolves around web comics, both professional and fan made web comics.
Can I
And
stop you there?
mhm,
Challenge the term subculture. I would argue this drives the comic culture in 2023. Do you know how many millions of people read web comics, webtoons?
yeah, yeah, it's this particular one is started off. It's a Korean web comic, something that is called manhwa. It's a comic style that from South Korea, influenced heavily by Japanese manga, and it was translated into English. And we're going to throw a link into the show notes for this show where you can actually read it. For the life of me, I could not find the fact that it was somebody actually charges for this. It is a fascinating thing. So the story itself is all about this skeleton who is summoned by a mage, fights for the mage and dies. Next thing you know, the skeleton reawakens and has been teleported back to in time to when he was summoned again. He's fully aware of what happened previously, and he gains experience through this whole process. So it takes him several different times of dying in this whole process to actually defeat the people who kill him in that phase. And it's all about his adventures and how he gets stronger. If you're familiar with lit RPGs and the whole concept of gamifying stories, this is very similar, and it's great. And what I love about it, it's this is a very organic story. They're still adding chapters to it. If you go, the link that I included has the most recent chapter, which is number 252.
Mm.
So it's a rather large story, and you could follow the adventures of this skeleton as he levels up and has adventures with friends he gathers along the way. And it's a great story. I mean, I enjoy just reading it, and because it continually is added to, it never really ends. At least I don't see an ending to it. Check it out. It's as John mentioned. There is a whole series of different manga books that are available online as web comics, and this may give you an entree to that world and give you access to stories that you wouldn't read from Marvel or DC, like this story, about a skeleton, about some poor spawn that gets killed and reborn. It's definitely not a story that Marvel would tell because it's also kind of violent, to be honest with you. So, no, it's a great story. And like I said, as far as I can tell, it's free. Chapter 252 is the most recent chapter. If you keep an eye on the site, if new chapters come out and translated, they'll be added to the site. There are a number of other sites out there that list this comic. I gave a link to one that isn't kind of spammy because some of the other sites have lots of ads and things like that. But no, it's check it out. I think you'll be drawn into that whole world of online comics.
We have entire ecosystems around webtoons. Webtoon probably being the biggest and best. You have Tapas. You've got all sorts of Marvel's dip their toe in it with Marvel Infinity using Marvel characters. Horrible, horrible art. Marvel, if you want people to read your webtoons, please hire an artist. Not, oh, it's so bad. They must be paying these people nothing. I mean, there was one, I will say, in the Marvel superhero, because it's the genre we are always drawn to. They did, Tom DeFalco and Ron Friends did a webtoon for A Next, brought back that alternate reality Avengers, future Avengers title for a Marvel webtoon. Webtoons kind of like Xerox. We shouldn't just call them webtoons. It's a brand name.
Yeah. Have you read any? Any?
Yeah, sure. Lore Olympus is a very popular one I've read, and yeah, it's How did you discover this? I'm curious.
That's a good question. I've known about this for a while. For some reason, it's not actually, the spark to say, "Oh boy, this is something underrated that we need to talk about."
Mhm.
Didn't happen until this week. I probably came around through different manga sites. I do frequent different sites, and this particular topic, I'm big into D&D and gaming,
Mhm.
was interesting to me, and I started reading it and just got drawn in.
All right, you guys, more of this, or do you want Richard's head on a pike? Let's find out in the comments
It's
below.
kind of, we've kind of strayed from the bronze and modern moniker that we've had quite a bit at this point.
It doesn't get more modern than this, I would argue.
That's
It doesn't get more unmodern than Teenage Romance number 84. Wow, that's a transition that I don't think I got the whiplash. This under this Jack Kirby cover, of course, it contains two stories by Stan and Jack. And for all you Don Heck fans that are going at me in the comments, still to this day, there is even a Don Heck story inside, which is much better suited to his talents than superheroes. Prior issues of Teenage Romance, which was retitled from the long running My Own Romance in late 1960, were very heavy on the Vinnie Coletta and Dick Giordano art. But starting with this issue 84, Jack comes on board and starts doing stories in this until there's a one point, like the last three issues, I think, are entirely 100% Jack Kirby art. There is one single solitary lonely slab on the CGC census for this book. That is a 5.0. So if I slab this, it'd be the highest graded. I should do that.
There you go.
This is one of those incredibly obscure early Silver Age Marvel series that are extremely tough to find. Have you ever seen this book before in your life, Richard?
Not, no, I can't
Did
say
you
that.
know there was a Marvel series called Teenage Romance?
No.
There you go. When they do show up on eBay, Lower grade copies, we're talking 3.0s, 3.5s. They go for about 40, $50. So
Wow.
these books are money right here. I gathered as many as I could when I was collecting them 10, 15 years ago at $4 or $5 a piece. And now they're all sitting in a box ready for my estate planning. All right, that is going to wrap it up for us this week. Richard, remind everyone where they can find us if they want more content.
On Instagram and Facebook, they can find us at Bronze and Modern Gods, or on the web, they can find us at bronzeandmoderngods.com.
Hit like, hit subscribe, help us out, tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your dog. And we'll catch you next time.
Everybody, stay safe.